What is up, ladies and gents? It is your friendly neighborhood BJJ podcaster, RAF ESPARZA, coming to you with another great installment of the Bullpen. I have news for you guys. It has been an insane week in jiu-jitsu, and yet that's good business for us. I mean, it's a lot to talk about. In fact, one might argue between the news and all of the events that happened this weekend, one of the biggest weeks in jiu-jitsu in some time. And guess what? It's only going to continue to get bigger and bigger. So rather than waste any time, let's get straight to the topics at hand. But first, let's introduce our friends. First and foremost, welcome back to the show, one Tim Freeman. And Tim, I'm noticing the camera is not on you here, so I will change that very quickly. Nope, just kidding. That's Jake Watson. All right, there is Tim Freeman. How you doing,
what's
sir?
going on, guys? I'm doing fantastic, Raf. It's great to be back on another installment of the Bullpen. A lot of stuff happened over the weekend in the jiu-jitsu world, and we also got our favorite guy back. So I can't wait to get the gang back together and talk some jiu-jitsu.
You know, the joke I had in mind was supposed to work a little bit better, but I already fucked it up. So let's just go to this and then say like, oh, wait, pretend I didn't have that mess up. He's still here. And then I was going to do a reveal where it was going to be like, oh, look, nope, it's still me. And instead, no, we've already seen him. The wonderful Jake Watson has returned to the show. Jake, how are you doing, sir?
Well, Raf, I appreciate you welcoming me back. And Tim, it's nice to know that the only other guy on the show is your collective favorite guy. So thank you. No, it's going to be back. And this was a crazy week for jiu-jitsu. It's a crazy week for combat sports, really. But yeah, it's a pleasure to be back here.
All right, well, let's get to this, and let's fix these things very quickly. Let's fix Tim over here, and let's fix Jake.
Am I black and white in that photo?
You are black and white, yeah. It's supposed to be that you died
Why?
Metaphorically, because you were dead to me for the past couple weeks.
Dang.
Metaphorically, death is not the same thing as real death. Like, I don't wish death upon anybody. Yeah. But when you aren't here for 2 weeks, it is becoming like you might be dead to the show. So explain yourself. Man. What have you been into, and are you okay?
Oh, I've been all around the world, actually. I went to AITKEN in Brazil, in São Paulo. I was there for a week, and then the following week, I went to the IBJJF World Championship and commentated play-by-play. Both times that I was gone, I think last week, the Bullpen was not on a Wednesday, if I'm not mistaken. I believe it was on a Thursday. And that Thursday, I was traveling out to the IBJJF World Championship. So I was gone a couple weeks. Actually, man, I tried so hard to be on the Bullpen in Sao Paulo because it was 2 p.m. airtime here in the United States. And so at 6 p.m. in Sao Paulo, I had my stuff ready. I brought a specific shirt to wear for the show.
Oh,
and I couldn't wear it.
Man.
Oh, yeah. It was a Super Mario Sunshine t-shirt with the yellow stars on it. I was going to really just jazz it up for you guys, but no, then they're like, hey, dinner at 6 p.m. I'm like, gosh, dude. All right. So I got to miss the Bullpen again, but yeah, I've been busy. I haven't been doing nothing, sitting on my butt lollygagging. I've been working.
Sure. What you do understand, though, is when I do say things to you, it's not necessarily meant to just be flippant for no reason. It's usually when you say things like, hey, Raf, I'm really going to try and be there. And I go, okay, sure. And you go, no, I'm pretty sure I think I can make it work. And I go, logistically, when you go into a different time zone, I don't know that works in our favor. And up right until the minute you were like, I'm in, I'm not in. And then you wonder why.
Because they literally listen.
Go on.
They said, hey, you should. I'm like about to go. Hey, you need to come downstairs. We're going to dinner. And it's a dinner that they're going to decide the whole tournament. I have to be there. And I'm like, this couldn't have been like 3 hours ago that we talked about this big mysterious dinner. But again, I get it. Dad, I know. Okay?
No, very disappointed in you, son. You'll learn just yet. But I just know that I do it for myself so that there's no actual disappointment that happens. Like when you tell us that, you didn't get a message from me being like, where are you, son? You got a message from me being like, all right, sounds good, man. Go and take care of what you need to take care of. So we understand. And when you're on assignment, dude, nobody controls the hours. You might get an itinerary, but things are flexible. So we're happy to have you back. Clearly, everybody here has been busy. So I think we should just get to the board. But you do have one well-wisher. This is from Wallow J, who says, oh, snap, Jake is back. Let's go, fellas. So see, the audience, or at least one guy, missed you. So Wallow, thank you very much.
And I will be a guest on the PGF Insiders podcast once we can make the schedule work out.
Man.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. If my new gig doesn't
already
work,
confirmed.
I'll be
It's already
guest on your
confirmed,
show
baby.
over there. Yeah.
It's all right.
Yeah, they had me on before Tim.
Yeah.
Well, will you make it on in time over there if you have too many constraints? Hey, Walla, I want to let you know, Jake kind of unreliable on his times. So
Hard to work with.
Too busy, so hard to book him. Just letting you know, one producer to another. Just heads up there. Anyway, here's a board. We should get to it. And I'm excited about this because, listen, there was a lot of stuff that happened. And we're going to kind of break this up a little bit because I believe one of you is more an expert at one of them, and one of you is more an expert at the other of them. So I won't name names, but we're going to start our time right now with the presentation of the 10th anniversary of EBI. Tim, I'm going to go to you to tell us what happened at EBI this weekend.
So EBI 21, 10-year anniversary, pretty big event. And to be honest, EBI's been kind of laying low. EBI's like that training partner that was super, super dope for a long time. And everyone was like, this is it. And then they kind of like started doing some kickboxing for a while and you didn't quite see them. We mostly saw combat jiu-jitsu. I mean, mostly we did, right? But it was pretty awesome to see EBI back. I think EBI holds a special place in everyone's heart that loves submission grappling. And just like I called it, I'm not one to brag, but I am one to speak the facts. I called it on this show last week. Ryan Aikens walks away with the absolute EBI 21 championship. He not only, look, I thought he would have an advantage specifically because of the overtime rules, but he submitted his way through the event. Now, he submitted Big Dan in overtime, but damn, he submitted Big Dan. That's huge. I mean, literally and metaphorically, it's pretty huge. I know Eddie's feeling pretty good about having a 10th Planet guy win a 10th Planet event. So congrats to him. Big Dan looked super, super good as well. He had several submissions on his way, even submitting one of his teammates. But he just didn't quite have it to pull it off in the end. So overall, I thought it was a really great card. I'm stoked to see it back. And maybe, who knows, maybe this is the format. Maybe people just want to see the absolutes for EBI. Maybe the rest of the weight classes, we watch combat jiu-jitsu, but when it comes to EBI, we just watch the absolutes. It's not my decision, but I thought it was a great show. I'm happy that it came back. So overall, I would say for a 10th anniversary, they did a real nice job.
And I have to commend the fact that we're going to 6-minute matches. I think that makes a significant difference. Everything feels a little snappier. And as a product, I thought it was pretty good. There were some great moments for a number of people, and Ryan looked really, really good. I was very, very happy for him. And you were right, man. You know what's great is we get these bragging rights because we do this show. And you said it. I reposted it because I was like, you definitely called it. And, you know, I talked a lot last week, and I'm going to do it again this week just as a preview, but I wanted to give you the floor. And I was like, you know what? I always hope that if we give one of us the floor, that we can knock it out of the park. So kudos to you, sir. You definitely did that. You made the use of the time last week. So big congrats. We're going to move now. Actually, before we go to that, I do want to say to EBI, I'm very happy that they've existed for 10 years and I've missed the core version of EBI. I get that combat is a thing. I like combat just fine. I've learned to love it more over the years, but the EBI is that dream that so many people chased that I do like the idea of giving them that opportunity. And so getting to see people just exist in that world and succeed at it has been super fun to watch in the past few weeks. So very, very happy for that. Now we're going to go to our next topic, which is IBJJF. And we are very lucky here at the show because we actually have one of the commentators for the IBJJF in one, Jake Watson. So Jake, I'm charging you 3 minutes to tell us exactly what happened over at the IBJJF World, sir.
First of all, I also want to say that I'm very excited about EBI. Just throw that in there. And Tim, good job on your predictions. Now, the IBJJF was a roller coaster. The World Championship is the pinnacle of gi jiu-jitsu, make no mistake, and it always has been. But what we saw at this IBJJF World Championship was a mixture of just about everything dramatic, It's stuff that's good for television. I mean, a ref got punched in the face in one of the matches on accident. There is some challenges following along with all of the action and things like Flow Zone. Flow Zone is very limited in its capabilities because we have to jump around from mat to mat to mat. Whereas on the finals day, we get to kind of stick to one mat. Kendall Rusing and Samir Chantry were on one mat. Danny and I were on the other. Now, TAININ Dalpra gets DQ'd, very second match of the tournament. That absolutely sent shockwaves through the middleweight division. Jackson Nagai of Checkmat ends up winning the middleweight division. And a lot of people could say that is likely due to TAININ's absence from the division. Now, Jackson could have been having his day, but there was moments like that through the entire tournament. Mika Galvão had a little bit of controversy, I guess, with the 2 points that he scored in his match with Andy Murasaki. By the way, Andy Murasaki made it to his third Worlds final in a row. There was just so many amazing things. Gustavo Batista having the tournament of his life. But one thing that I saw was that there was a renewed energy. The World Championship has an energy in that building. If you haven't been to an IBJJF GI World Championship, it's electric. People are so excited. The fans get really into it. Jansen Gomez made the entire place go crazy. It's borderline. I could hear it very loud through my headphones. I could barely hear Danny next to me, even with the assistance of the playback of his mic in my ears. It was just, it's an incredible experience. And while, yes, 10-minute matches that are broken up and actually made longer because of penalties and stoppages and stuff like that can be a little long, the athletes really showed out. There was a lot of submissions. There was a lot of DQs. There was a lot of excitement. Of course, with the gi, there is going to be those moments that are really broken up. And actually on the mic, I had to have a little bit of an adjustment period for that. But overall, it was a very exciting experience, and the gi World Championship delivered, in my opinion.
Good to know. Tim, did you get a chance to check out any of the Worlds this weekend?
A little bit, and specifically, I do want to say this. I have a message for you, TAININ. It's time to come to the dark side. There's no future in the kimono. Listen, you will never be disqualified for following your natural inclination to reap. No gi jiu-jitsu. We're waiting for you with open arms. Take the jacket off. Strip away the pants. You don't even got to wear a shirt. Get out.
Wait.
We need you.
You're talking to 3-time IBJJF world champion, or 2 or 3-time TAININ Dalpra, who already has transitioned to no-gi, by the way, already has a couple victories on the Who's
He
One
needs
stage.
to leave it
Now, here's
behind.
Here's the thing about that rule. There is a graphic that you can hang up in your gym from the IBJJF website. And one of the pictures on the graphic, one of the keystone don't do this in gi jiu-jitsu pictures on this graphic, is a picture of exactly what TAININ Dalpra did. So it's not like this was suddenly illegal. This has been illegal for a long time, and a lot of athletes got DQ'd for the same exact thing on the weekend. And I think it was just a lapse in judgment. I think that TAININ can win probably both. We'll see, But yeah, he's already kind of tiptoeing into the dark side. Let's give him some more world championships.
Needs to come all the way. No.
Okay.
Let's dump the gi. Let's dump it. Why would he get DQ'd for that in the first place? That's all I'm saying, IBJJF. What are we doing?
It's just a rule. If you don't like the rule, don't break it.
Oh, wow. Okay.
All right.
Okay.
I'm going to start $1 million gi tournament.
Oh, yeah. The TJI, or what is it? The TFI?
It's Tim Jones. He's going to keep the last name, too.
Sorry. Yeah. Tim Jitsu Invitational.
So, okay, a good summary. Thank you, Jake. And here's what we should note here. All of us have trained in the gi and do train in the gi. So I think we're just trying to explore the idea that there is an opportunity, if you get that reaping call, that there is an open door to you. What I might present to you now, though, because Jake, you did sort of jump ahead, is that we're going to our next topic, which was, what are we doing here? Like, legitimately, what is happening? Because I want to point this out. Tim brings up a good point, which is, listen, Gi-Jitsu, we defend you, we love you, we're here for you during dark times. But then something like this happens where we just kind of look around and it's weird when the Mendez brothers official account starts roasting you. So let's take a look at this footage and determine for yourself. Now, Jake, since you're the one that talked about being on a poster, or that there is a poster, I'm sorry, that exists that shows you not to do this, tell us specifically what's happening in this video, again, that the Mendez brothers account reposted.
Now I'm kind of nervous.
Okay, so the first thing we see here...
That right there is, if we've seen The Water Boy, we know that is the Captain Insano Shows No Mercy. That is the eye poke.
It's the dramaticness and wait, no, I'm going back to this one. It's the dramaticness in which we are getting eye poked, I think, because it goes from this to, all right, I'm ready to play, to ow. And I heard a lot of people calling us soccer essentially this week. And as someone who played soccer for 11 years, that kind of hurts because, listen, I've seen better acting. Having said that, let's talk about this, Jake, right here. So walk us through what exactly is illegal.
Okay, here's what was illegal. It was illegal the moment TAININ Dalpa connected his hands. Notice the referee lets it play out, but as soon as the hands connect and he arches and he extends his left leg, that's when it becomes illegal. TAININ is doing this. Notice he's making the grip on the back of the pants. He's looking to take the back. So he's got that deep De La Riva hook through. He might throw the right leg around and go for a crab ride, which it looks like that's what he was trying to do right as the ref called the match. What he's trying to do is he's trying to get Francisco, my apologies. He's trying to get Francisco to turn his back completely to expose it. Now, the reason, I don't know exactly why this technique is illegal. I guess it's because it's essentially a very intense reap, and it does the same thing that a reap does. I will say that in the final, Jackson, the guy, pulled guard on Francisco Lowe, and he tapped the leg. And when he tapped that same leg that just got stretched, he tapped immediately because it seemed like it hurt. Now, he could have been acting, but, I mean, he tapped because he, kicked the knee and he started tapping. So it's like, man, am I that committed to an act that I'm going to tap in the final, getting my knee kicked?
The answer is yes. You don't stop an act. That's why it's called an act. You make sure you see the act all the way through.
Well, okay. I am not going to say here. I'm not here or there.
No. Impartial
I don't know.
Impartial Jake Watson cannot get involved in this mudslinging. RAF ESPARZA can. And what I want to tell you is this is particularly hard to defend because, again, we gave our credentials. We all love the gi. We want this to succeed. However, this just looks kind of, I wouldn't even say sad. It's just a little embarrassing because how are we supposed to explain this to people? And I get it because I saw people post the photo where they said, yes, this is illegal. However, the ruling that we have said for years, and yet nothing has changed, is why does this rule exist in a black belt level? All things considered, let them go. Because that is why you see Dark Sith Lord over to our right over here telling you come to the dark side. Because what he's saying is, in no-gi, we have no issue with this. Now, Tim, when you saw this, what went through your head?
This is what goes through my head. We're trying to break each other's limbs. Okay, so it's okay if I crank your arm that way. That's totally cool. But if I crank your knee in this direction, it's cool. But I can knee bar you into oblivion. I could break your leg in half till gravy comes out of it. And as long as it's a straight knee bar, I'm going to get put on number one. I'm going to be the champ. I'm going to rip my jacket open. I'm going to run around the crowd, but I'm not going to leave the magic square because I don't want to get DQ'd. Okay, but if I crank to the side, now I'm the big bad guy. I'm just saying, look, these guys are black belts. It's the world. It's TAININ. These guys are the best of the best. We want to see this stuff. We want to see the reap. We got to see the reap. Come on.
Allow me to just offer a perspective. I'm just playing advocate here. I agree to an extent, right? I just think that there's, if you don't like the rule, don't sign up, right? At the end of the day, the rule's the rule, and you should still abide by it, even if you don't agree with it, right? This is a position, not a submission. So the knee bar argument or even the heel hook argument, those are bona fide submission holds that you're applying in an effort to get a tap. This is a position that forces the knee into a position where it can be hurt. It's not a submission. So I think that's the deliberation a little bit. Plus, I mean, I wouldn't mind. 1 sec. I wouldn't mind seeing reaping in the gi. I wouldn't mind. I feel like if you're a black belt, you should be able to defend a reap. Reaps used to be illegal back in the they used to be legal back in the 90s. They stopped it. Everybody, should know how to stop somebody from reaping your knee. Can we all agree on that?
Yes.
Tim.
This is what we can agree on. The number one thing that I've heard my entire jiu-jitsu career is exactly what you described. It's what we all follow, and it's what happened. Position before submission. The position causes the submission. Yeah, the position causes the submission. He put him in a position. It imbalances his knee in a way that's not proper. You gotta tap or give up the back, dog. What do you want? This is the world. That's all.
Why
I'm
did
saying.
that start?
I get what you're saying,
and it turned
but
into
I'm just like, come on.
again.
I'm going to be very clear. I didn't understand what he was saying until it got Brazilian, because I don't know what that is. I know position before submission. I don't know what position before submission is. It's very strange and very different.
Oh, understood.
Well,
But
I
that's
just want
not
to
what I was saying. But
No. I get, you know what? I think if people heard what you were saying, I think they understand your perspective, Jake. I don't think anybody's going to mince anything here. I think what Tim's larger point is the explained version of what I put down here, which is, what the fuck are we doing here? Like, legitimately, we're all grown adults. We should be able to reap. It is weird, and I do get the perspective. Don't sign up unless you sign up for the rules. Yes, Jake out there is somehow going to enforce all these old-timey rules. So don't be surprised if Jake's like, well, I mean, prohibition still exists, so you guys shouldn't be drinking around here. So I'm just saying.
no, geez.
You don't. Hey, be very happy that that's the one I picked, because I had other.
Don't introduce
laws.
socioeconomics and geopolitics into my.
I was just saying I had other
IBJJF
references ready to go, and I picked prohibition because I said I think that's the least offensive one. So just as a hat tip to that. But I would say this. Let's just think of this. If we can address this rule and come to some sort of connection on it, because if the Mendez brothers are complaining about it, I mean, I get it. Even they're kind of saying, like, what's the deal with this? So at the very least, it is something that we should reconsider, because I'll tell you this much. It's just hard to defend, and we all root for it. So with that in mind, let's change topics, because I believe we gave that more than it's due. But we're going now to our next topic, which is, I think it really wants to stay on that topic, so my apologies. Our next topic is, who is Craig Daddy? So who's Craig Jones's sugar daddy? So Craig Daddy is really funny. You know what it was? Is I was looking down and my thing wasn't moving on the counter. So it just was like, well, we're going to fuck this one up real bad. All right. Who is Craig Jones's sugar daddy? So I'm going to start with this. Jake, I'm going to ask you, who do you think is the person anonymously funding the Craig Jones Invitational?
Mark Zuckerberg. It's just Mark Zuckerberg. It's got to be Mark. Here's the thing. That guy is invested in jiu-jitsu. Craig has spent a considerable amount of time around Alexander Volkanovski and around Israel Adesanya. At the last fight for Alexander Volkanovski, Mark Zuckerberg was dressed in the Reebok gear, following him to the cage like he was adding some sort of value to the instruction in the fight. But Mark Zuckerberg has been hip to hip with these guys, right? And also with Mikey Musumeci. He's obviously invested in the jiu-jitsu community in some way, shape, or form. And so I think that it's Mark Zuckerberg.
Okay. To be very clear, you do know that was struck down. So it's not that you're not correct.
Oh, really?
It's that Ariel did ask Craig Jones on the MMA Hour, and Craig said no. But Craig is also probably going to lie to you and say no, even if it is the right person. But it does fit some of the description. Tim, who do you have?
Well, I'll tell you, I thought a lot about it. Craig has traveled all over the place. He's been to the Ukraine. I thought it could be Grandpa Joe Biden, but it's like, no, it's not. He didn't pick up any of that U.S. money. That's all accounted for. But listen, this is for real. I had a visitor out to Nashville. Nashville gets lots of visitors. This particular person, and I'm not going to name names, but he said to me that the associate of Craig's, who is responsible for the funding, now this is just what I heard, I don't know, that there's potential for this to have come from another sheik or somebody in the Middle East somewhere that has the money. I don't know if it's Abu Dhabi or one of the other countries around there, but somewhere, that's the rumor that I heard. I don't know if it's true, but that's what I've heard.
So hold on. Let me see if I get
You
this.
really made us wait for that.
Yeah, I was about to say, let me see if I got this straight. You're saying it's a sheik off? So it's basically one sheik being like, how dare you? No one out sheiks me. Take this money, Craig Jones.
I don't know. I think that it might be like, hey, one guy doesn't want to step on the other guy's toes, so he's kind of doing it like, hey, I want to get into this jiu-jitsu thing, but I don't know, man. This is just, that part is speculation on my part, but that was what I heard. I don't know if that's true or not. I tried to verify that with someone and they told me, nah, they don't think that's true. But this particular person claims to be.
And what was the name?
Associated.
You said his name earlier. What was his name? What was his name?
Whose name? I didn't say anyone's
the person
name.
that told you said his
Come
name.
on, man.
Ah, dang it.
I'm from the streets, dog. Come on.
So when did Jake turn into a cop that's basically telling you you're basically doing everything illegal? And you know what? If they didn't like them laws, they shouldn't live in them place. Like very quickly going very south. I'm going to give you my very quick estimation as to who it could be. You touched on it very slightly, Tim. I think it's Hunter Biden. And it's Hunter Biden for the following reason. Because, I mean, cocaine can produce a lot of money. And nose beers, well, they probably ran into each other at a freaking bathroom doing lines of coke. And you know what? People just hang out together who do that sort of stuff. So if I were to say that, I would definitely go with a lot of those jokes that Craig has made, which is every time he's referenced the Ukraine, he's like, the American taxpayer dollars. And I was like, that sounds a little bit like, that sounds like the work of Hunter Biden. Maybe they're onto something. So that's my best guess. I would say this. Zuckerberg does seem the top of the guesses, but him being shot down didn't necessarily throw me off the scent. It just kind of made me say like, all right, if you say it's not him, I'll have to take you at your word for now. But who else has that much money to spend? That's the part I don't understand.
Well, and that much interest in jiu-jitsu was like my whole thing. I didn't know that it got shot down on the MMA Hour. I didn't see it. But yeah, no, wow. That's wildly disappointing that I was allowed to talk for 1 minute and 30 seconds completely out of my ass before you guys.
Well, I did say it doesn't mean it's not true. It just means that it got shot down. And Craig has been very clear. So here's what's happening on all these other shows that I find hilarious. So all these other interviewers, for whatever reason, as big as they were and as big a platforms as they have, they're already pre-laughing at all of Craig's jokes. Like Craig sits down and they're like, oh my God, what? Hey man, nose beers, am I right? Hey, this is cool. And then they have the nerve to, when Craig Jones is talking about certain issues, to just be like, hey, so you want to tell me who's involved? Craig, no. So you're not going to tell me who's going to deflect over to your side? No. So you're going to tell me who the anonymous donor is? Still no. You can try and guess. It's fine. And like, he's playing that game so much better than they did. And I thought to myself, I was like, these are really good interviewers who were really thrown off by his charms. So it's both a testament to Craig. It is his accent, but it's also his slow play timing. Like the jokes, even if they're just silly dick jokes, are effective because people just, it's a charisma. He's just very naturally warm and funny. And I have to tell you, the interview that he did with Fionn Davies was actually very delightful because she's made it pretty clear. She's like, oh, I'm doing this event, but he's got really dumb jokes and a lot of shit I don't agree with, but we can find this commonality here.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, that's what it's all about.
It very much is. And I love that Jiu-Jitsu meme says, I know who it is. Well, unless you offer up who it is, it doesn't mean anything. So womp womp. You're just a regular comment guy. Brother. I love these people. I know who it is. Cool. Say it. Tell us. Regale us with all of your impressive knowledge, because I think the whole point of this is we wanted to guess who it was. And my guys here actually took a stand to guess who those people were. So thus we're going to give them props. All right, gents. We're going to zero you guys both out. I need a few minutes to take the floor. Mostly, we're going to go to our next topic here. So last week, we were able to address a few logical fallacies that are happening in the comment sections. And I felt pretty good. I thought it was a pretty thorough investigation, or at least a discussion as to some of the things that people are saying online. And yet this week, people came in with more and more absurd arguments. And thus, we're going to take some time here to address, well, not all of them, but what we figure is a good portion of them. So let's start with, guess what? Loyalty, part dose. Now, in the past week, you've seen some folks take to their social media to talk a little bit about loyalty and why they're specifically loyal to ADCC. And I can actually understand that sentiment. However, I would note that the way that they're written comes off overtly dramatic and from a place of moral superiority. See, loyalty is a two-way street. So to expect it or demand it when a better offer exists and is on a table seems kind of disloyal to me. And it highlights a slight problem in conflating personal relationships with the promoter with the professional and business sides. See, when that line is blurred, it's not surprising that arguments find their way into the fold like this. But that's where I believe the professionalism comes in. So similar to any job, you get a better offer, you give notice, and wish the other entity well. These posts kind of seem like emotional manipulation in disguise as extreme disappointment. I would agree that money isn't necessarily everything when it comes to relationships, but treating the issue of money like nothing and downplaying the legitimate requests about the financials that were proposed about the business model also caused ADCC to kind of burn their relationship with Craig. So it begs the question, what was so wrong about Craig's question about what caused that relationship to be burned so badly? If you can break a bond over that, and so easily, I'm just so curious why it is that just questioning the business practices of an organization maybe is a bad thing and might also highlight a one-way relationship in that dynamic. So listen, and this last part is not particularly directed at anyone in particular here. It's just, it should go without saying that loyalty is often used in our sport to control and manipulate people. So perhaps not the best argument in this sport. Just saying, it's been kind of not traditionally great for us. Another argument, I hate that they're making the athletes choose. Now, this one to me is absolutely absurd, and here's why. It's like we found people who never use their paid time off for work because the company will one day acknowledge their grind. We have so many people who like competition and free market and money who all of a sudden heavily dislike the option of choice. Imagine waiting years, decades, just to get some kind of opportunity for life-changing money. And their response is, could it be at a more convenient time for me? Also, there's no contract with ADCC. So basically, you're shaming your friends for trying to leave one job because they got a better deal or offer, or to continue an earlier point, exploiting a professional relationship for a business practice. Most jobs tell you it's courteous to give 2 weeks notice. Right now, last I looked, it's about 70 days away. So that's more than ample time. Additionally, a quick history lesson here, kids. EBI was literally launched after the success of Eddie Bravo competing at Metamoris 3. Then they created an organization. Those two organizations went and competed against one another. And guess what? It was beneficial for all of us. And yes, there was counter programming back then too. Hollick actually programmed a Metamoris Underground a day before EBI and 2 days before one of the Submission Underground events. And yet all did fairly fine for themselves. But the innovation that came out of it was people got tired of seeing draws. So they ended up creating overtime, thus EBI overtime. I believe that competition breeded innovation at that time, and we desperately needed it. And if you look at just this past weekend, when we celebrated the 10th anniversary of EBI, it was during the weekend of Worlds, and both existed just fine. Worlds was packed. EBI was packed. And guess what? That was a great thing for jiu-jitsu. I think what the pro ADCC crowd needs to get into their head is that if they can get away from their egos, they will realize this is a huge windfall for them. And here's why. There is going to be a free YouTube product that will completely outdraw their pay-per-view model. So there will be a lot of eyes on that product that week. And guess what? People have not felt strongly about that pay-per-view model for Flow for years, but they might be more intrigued because of the drama. There's only 1 day of overlap here. And yes, some of the athletes are going to have to choose, are given a choice to figure out which one they want to go to. And that is the stuff of drama that makes storytelling, that gets people interested in finding out what happens that Sunday. Because if you know the story of the Craig Jones Invitational, you have to know what's going on with ADCC. It is basically inbred in that story. So if they could somehow learn how to mitigate that and manage it, they will then only have to give a great platform to the athletes, which they have in the past. But perhaps what people, some people just don't want to admit is that there is a strong possibility that ADCC becomes the B show. And all of that talk of choice is really just a fear-based response to the fact that come August 19th, that standard might actually change. And there is a slight possibility that ADCC may not be the pinnacle anymore. And that's what's scary. But it's not an assured thing. Craig Jones Invitational could just crash and burn. And in fact, the burden is now on them to produce a show that's both entertaining and justifies being on that same weekend. So yes, they have a lot of pressure on them too. That is this year. See, a lot of people are talking about the fact that this year will have a lot of competition. And yes, there will be competition. But if we take Craig at his word and they are looking to make it an annual event, then really next year is more interesting to me, because then all of those people who talk about loyalty and being forced to make a choice suddenly have an off year where everything is on the table. And yes, they could compete in that. And yes, in that time, that discrepancy or the distance between the two events could only become bigger and bigger if this event is successful. So no, I'm not surprised you're seeing some very key people put up posts to protect their interests. But as for me, color me more interested in what happens in 2025. And we're going to come back to that loyalty thing one more time with the same weekend with one more point, but we'll get there in just a second. And finally, hey, they're making changes. You know, I was beyond thrilled to hear that Mo was going to increase the pay for women. During one of Mo's most recent Instagram lives, he actually made the point to say that yes, in response to a question regarding pay disparity for men and women, that he would increase the pay for women. And that is a good thing. However, it was what he said afterward that he raised a few eyebrows with. When he said, that doesn't mean anything to me. Now listen, as in the money increase doesn't mean much to him. At best, it's a casual slip up and perhaps obviously something from somebody who has trouble articulating themselves on a live telecast, which is difficult to do. But at worst, it makes light of an issue that means a lot to women who have been competing in that event for years, who have been relegated to second-class status. What do I mean by that? I mean that women and men compete at trials in both the East and West Coast. However, only the men go from both sides of those trials. The women do not. And that highlights a huge problem for an organization that wants to be the best in the world. So if we come back to this point, it's that, yes, Mo might actually be fronting the bill on this and paying it himself. And if that's the case, it should be commendable. But he didn't just offer to match the money out of the goodness of his heart. He did it because people were pressuring him to do it. And quite frankly, ADCC could use the good press. So yes, in this instance, choosing that same weekend has come to a very powerful point. And yes, it did help to have Craig and Fionn basically combining forces. So if you're really going to thank anybody, you should be thanking them for making meaningful change by using their platforms together. So you know what all this means? It means your "I wish it was a different weekend" argument is completely null and void now. I'm just telling you, I know it sucks. I know for some of you who bought tickets, it is unfortunate, but as Craig has said, you're basically going to be donating to charity if you are buying one of his tickets. And that's kind of a good thing. And yes, you could still have it on your phone if you go to one or the other. But I have to say this. If it was supposedly in the works, meaning a pay increase for the women or pay increase for the athletes, well, we've seen how incremental change has worked for the ADCC in the past, especially when it comes to women. And yet, for some strange reason, within a week's time, we have seen the fastest change in ADCC policy when it comes to women. Almost like it could have been done at any given time. Strange. I guess the moral of the story here is efficacy works only when those in power use it appropriately. And I think Craig and Fionn did. And at the very least, it sure as hell worked a lot faster than that supposed loyalty ever did. All right, gents, I'm through. So let's bring you both back into the fold here. Gents, I wouldn't even bother to ask you guys what you felt about any of those, but I would ask this. Is there anything that you've seen that has come good from this situation from your particular tastes and sides? Oh, God, Tim. Oh, no.
Well, Tim is eating.
Great job, man. I enjoyed
Thank
it. I loved it. Yes, sir.
Goodness
Thank you
gracious.
for that. No, thank you.
I
Apologize.
To be honest, I haven't thought about
Beautiful.
it. I've been not really thinking about it myself, if I'm being completely honest with you. It has nothing to do with me. It does not affect me in any way, shape, or form. I'm very excited to work with ADCC at the 2024 Worlds. If this is good for the community, great. If it's bad for the community, it'll correct itself. At the end of the day, it is nice athletes are getting paid. Good on them and kudos to them. But at the same time, I am excited for Worlds.
What I would potentially say on that is I did listen to a recent live with Mo, and it did seem like he was all in favor of the athletes getting pay. What it's really coming down to is a philosophical difference. So it's basically saying his thought is you'll get more sponsorships if you utilize the T-Mobile. So it's a invest now, get a return later. Obviously, there's differences in that opinion between him and Craig. I think the other part of it is more of a talent relation sort of issue. But what I would come back to here is, at the very least, hearing him say he was excited about it means, okay, that's where it does stand. And I'm of the contention that I think a lot more people are going to have an opportunity to make names for themselves that week. So I think that by and large is very good for the sport. But I think the people are operating off of an element of fear for an event that we don't know the possibility of what it can be. And I feel like the Craig Jones Invitational is not an assured thing. It could very well not be the A show, but people seem to be acting like it is a huge, huge home-wrecking piece of organization, when in actuality, it might just open up a second door that does attract more of those MMA fans. So to me, that uncertainty is why people are getting up in arms and perhaps not making sense when they make their arguments. So that's kind of why I'm in a space of, we don't know it until we see it, but I still think ADCC will draw well. But I don't know that they play nice if they're the B squad.
Well, yeah, and I think the only really complaint I think I've had about the CJI is that, and this is, I don't know if what you guys feel about this, but I mean, the tournament was created out of spite. It is 100% due to the beef between ADCC and Craig. Now, Is there positive things? Like, I love that Craig is partnering with the foundation and donating to charity. That's amazing. I'm very pleased to hear that. But that is coming on the back end of beef. You know what I mean? That's it. That's all. That's the only thing I have to say. And like I said, I'm not just impartial because I'm afraid to have an opinion or something like that. If I'm not working for the show, it's like, man, I have other shows that I'm doing as well, especially since I am going to be the commentator for ADCC 2024. I'm going to pick the positive out of it, and I'm going to say, okay, cool. Like, some of the athletes are getting paid. Like, that's cool. I hope that Craig delivers. I hope that the show delivers. Cool. I think that, people are probably going to go, and the people are probably going to end up going to both. They're probably going to still show up for ADCC finals. They'll be at the Craig Jones Invitational. That is another thing too that we have to remember, is that they are, like, the finals of the events are on different days. Or the finals of Craig Jones Invitational is on the same day as, like, the first day of ADCC. But people are still going to go to both, I think. And, hopefully it's a great weekend for jiu-jitsu and it doesn't end up being just some weird spite fest.
Well, I would also like to say this. In our particular case, you working that event, us not working that event, we still work together, and I don't have any issue of it, and I wish you guys well. Like, them succeeding is you succeeding. So I don't want to see any of that falter, but I do think that it is good. I do think that people who want that competition may see the best out of both worlds. So we shall see. A lot to uncover here. Tim, did you have any last thoughts on that before we move on?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be good. I don't think ADCC is going to go anywhere. I think people who are wanting to see ADCC like die on the vine don't have a good sense of grappling history and don't understand how important it is in the general context of no-gi grappling. I would just like to see ADCC. If you're going to make a claim to be like, hey, we're the Olympics, then be the Olympics, then really be the Olympics of this. Then, like, put on a show that's
no one's getting paid.
That. Yeah, well, hey, man,
no
but that's
paid,
how that goes. That's right.
The Olympics,
but being an Olympian, is seriously a very big deal. If you win a gold medal as a wrestler in the Olympics, that's the goal. So it's still totally possible for them to do. But as an organization, they got to decide if they really are going to do it for the prestige or if they're going to try to be a paid promotion. You can't do both.
It's not quite apples to apples, though. The Olympics have been around since, like, very, very long time. I think it's had a pretty good long period of getting in people's hearts and minds. We'd have to, first of all, jiu-jitsu would have to be a lot bigger than it is. And I think that people's perceptions would have to be in agreement, because there's still people that think that the IBJJF Worlds is the Olympics of jiu-jitsu.
Well,
I mean, Jake, you had to have had, I mean, both of you had different perspectives, but Jake, you had a front row experience to IBJJF Worlds, and there was nothing happier for me than to see how crowded it was on that Sunday. And it looked like traffic was pretty good throughout the week, but to me, just a few years ago, we were proclaiming that gi was dead. So what I think what happens is you find your audience, you play to that audience, but what I think publicly takes place is a lot of people end up doing it in an unprofessional manner, and that's where drama and mudslinging comes in. Whereas my thing is, I wish them well, but I don't love some of the arguments that people take to do this, because what I think is a lot of it's based out of fear and uncertainty. And as a result of that, that's why it gets so wild and people come in the comments. And for me, I'm just like, hey, listen, for the next few months, support what you love, do what you do, and get behind that. And if you're really, really that affected by it, then perhaps you might be part of the problem, because to me, we'll still be watching both. And yes, I didn't pay for tickets to go to either of them, so I could understand if I did, I might be a little up in arms. But I have to tell you this, if there was an opportunity for one of my friends to go compete for more money, I would kind of be a shitty friend if I just told them that affected me because I couldn't see them compete. I think it just is, you're still going to see other athletes that are going to be the next people that you root for. So that's what you're going 100%. For.
Here's why I think, and this just came to mind, I want to hear your guys' opinions about this. Here's what I think it is. And this is not, who's right, who's wrong. This has nothing to do with that. This is sort of just like what I think makes it a little bit more of a distinction between, let's even say, the IBJJF and the ADCC. ADCC has sort of a figurehead, let's call it. because Mo is the head organizer and he is the vocalization of ADCC policy. He is the guy. And when people think ADCC, they think of Mo Jasm. Mo's the one doing the lives. Mo's the one explaining the stuff. Mo's the one at the head of like, Mo's the problem. You know what I mean? When really it's like, it's beyond Mo. Mo's just the person who talks about it. The IBJJF and the Olympics don't have that. The Olympics doesn't have a Mo Jasm. The Olympics doesn't have a Seth Daniels. You know what I mean? They don't have a guy who's like, hey, I represent the Olympics and you're going to listen to everything I say. You know what I mean? They don't have that. They have like a team of people who put together very, well-packaged text boxes about IBJJF rules and, okay, we're sorry about this thing that happened and here's a change we're making in the future. So you can't really hone in your frustrations on a person. And I think that sometimes that might be what happens. And that's, again, Craig is the face of the Craig Jones Invitational. That's what people like associate it with Craig, and they'll associate it with Craig's thing. If that makes any sense. I think that it just, the IBJJF does feel much more suit and tie. It feels much more official. Like the Worlds is their biggest tournament. Easy. Like I think Brazilian Nationals too. Brazilian Nationals gets pretty rowdy. But the Worlds definitely has this sort of Olympics feeling. You know what I mean? Where it's like, wow, this is freaking important. Like people prepare their whole lives for this. And, they really believe that their lives are going to change after this event. Even like the announcer's not exciting. He's like in the white representing, he's not like, it's not a show at all.
I would say
not
this
a show. It is a tournament,
in my perspective, most major sports usually have one central figure that becomes that public person. We're in a very weird space where I think I mentioned this last week, but you don't really see people defending Roger Goodell or Adam Silver. Like you kind of get these figureheads here. What's that?
Or Vince McMahon.
Well, for sure, nobody better be defending him right now. But you get this idea that these people become figureheads. Where it becomes difficult is if you are giving them feedback or constructive criticism, and they do take it very shortly. So, for example, Mo upping the women should be a slam dunk. Like 100% should have been a fuck yeah, that's a great moment. And then it got weird. And to not comment on the weirdness continues to undermine the bigger problem, because you can throw some quick apply money, but then it's the same argument that people are like, well, money doesn't cure everything for the Craig Jones Invitational. Well, it's like, well, symbolic money means something to these individuals, whether they're the women or the entrants who are just trying to become people who are going to go to the semifinals or the quarterfinals or whatever it is, or to the finals. Like, I think that giving feedback in that perspective is not only warranted, but I think it should be noted. And I would say from the things that I've heard him say on his lives, it does seem like a lot of that efficacy is slowly changing things. Because he did mention one thing today in his live that really caught my ear, which was he's saying that the next time they do one of these, it probably wouldn't be at a T-Mobile Arena, because by then they would change a little bit of that structure. So it begs the question, is that something that they were working on beforehand, or maybe they are listening to the feedback that is coming from the fans, but not applying that pressure and just being scared about it could basically create more disastrous results. So I do think that feedback is not only warranted, but it is critical, because, man, I would love it to be in big arenas. I think that's cool. It just doesn't seem like we merit it. So that's kind of where I come from. Jake, we're running low on time with you, so I'm going to do this. I'm going to look into this. I actually do that one later. Let's get you to do your plugs first. So what would you like to plug? Where can people find you, good sir?
So you can find me on YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram at Jake Watson Media. Pretty soon you'll see me working a lot more with Once Upon a Coconut, which I'm very, very excited for. I'll have a discount code soon, as well as some different work that I'll be doing with them, which I'm very excited about again. Also, I will be working Lights Out Extreme Fighting at Casino Palma in June 15th. And I'm still waiting to hear back. I might have some exciting news about a show on June 29th. That's coming up as well. And just a bunch of stuff is coming up that I'm very excited to announce. You guys can follow me on my social media, and it'll be good. And I'm also still talking with the PGF about the possibility of a super fight next season. So that's cool as well. I'm getting back into training. Life is good. And I'll definitely have more updates for you guys soon.
Good, man. Jake, it is good to see you back. I'm glad that you have been busy. Busy is good work. But we're going to let you get on out of here, sir, and we will take the reins from here. But Jake Watson, you have a great rest of your day, good sir.
Shalom, shalom. Later, guys.
See you, Jake.
Was not expecting that sign off, but I guess we will take that. Okay, great. Okay. I need to reformat this, so it's going to take me a second here, Tim.
Yeah, man. Take your time.
I will take my time. In fact, I think I know exactly how I'm going to fix this. Well, bam. Look at this. Look at me fixing things on the fly.
Let's go, dog.
You're going to see me go whoop, whoop. And then you.
Oh, that's sick, dude.
And whoop. So now I'm going to format this. You guys will see how quickly I can make things change on a dime. Boom.
Hey.
All right. So, Tim, this next one is interesting because I did you put this one up?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, because I'm more curious what you have to say because I have not seen a ton of too insane people of going after this, but I would like to know from you, good sir, what have been some of the more insane, or what have you seen from athletes thirsty to get into the Craig Jones Invitational?
You know, there's the post. I should have sent you a screen cap of it. It's the classic announcement post that CGI is putting out there. It's the one that has, you know, Nikki Ryan on it. It's so people are taking that template and then they're putting themselves on it and they're going like, hey, I want this chance. The only thing I've seen besides like the top guys that, you know, like, yeah, this guy's going to be in it, are people that are absolutely insane. It's like every guy who's ever won a regional tournament is like, dude, I want $1 million. Like, throw me in, man. Everybody, to the point that people that are just starting jiu-jitsu are like, hey, I know that I probably don't have a chance to win. This is like getting a golden ticket now. This is a Wonka golden ticket at this point. They're like, but maybe if I could act out on Instagram, Craig will give me a spot. It's gotten pretty out there. It's like your cousin Todd who drives trucks and knows how to work on cars and is kind of tough, drinks a 6-pack every night. He's throwing his hat in the ring too. This is the lottery. This is $1 million. So everyone's going to take a shot at it. I think it's actually a great idea for a reality show to get a bunch of regular people out there and say, look, man, winner gets $1 million. It's going to be a big fighting tournament. Here's the rules. Get after it. No professionals. Let's go. We could put that on TV. It's a huge thing, man. So yeah, I've basically been seeing those. One serious plea though, that I did hear is that Bo Nickel's interested. And I think depending on the rule set, and we know it kind of sounds odd, Craig hasn't given a ton. Like, there's no professional videos explaining anything yet. A guy like Bo Nickel might be able to come in and win $1 million, which would be absolutely bananas if he did, but it might be really good for CJI to have a guy that's actively being pushed by the UFC to show up and win the tournament. So that's what I got so far by way of pleas, man.
I gotta be honest. I was kind of anti Bo Nickel, but I'll hear you out on that. I can bend a little bit more. My whole thought for the ADCC, like why I didn't want Bo, is because I thought it would be more impressive to beat ADCC with the same pool of people. But I do understand somebody like Bo might get us a few more eyeballs from the wrestling scene in the same way that Luke Rockhold would. There's a part of me that's just like, dude, beat them heads up. Because if you beat them heads up, I think you have more bragging rights. I think if you start to use more influencers or things to that effect, or that kind of style, not to really say that Bo's an influencer, but go with me on the argument. I think it's kind of that element of like, it has an asterisk that they can try to put to it. Whereas if you said like, hey, to these bums who don't make money, who aren't real athletes, like you gave them the shot, like these jiu-jitsu athletes who maybe other sports don't take seriously just because they don't make the money. And I argue, you know, in a similar way, it's part of the reason why we never see MMA athletes, boxing athletes come to MMA, where it's kind of like, oh yeah, I don't need to go to that if I make money. So on the one side, I said, oh, that's kind of cool if Bo wants to come play this way. But On the other side, I was like, Bo, go somewhere else, man. You make money there. Leave it to us. One of these dudes really needs $1 million. We don't need to give it to somebody who's already making fair bank over on that side. So I don't know. I'm warming to it. It would attract eyeballs. I'm still really, really interested to know how many people they have lined up. Like, I want to know how many deals have been made and how many people were waiting. And just as recent as last week, I believe the coach, is it the same coach for Mika that is for Diogo?
I'm not positive.
I don't know all the relationships, but I thought he was saying after Worlds, they were going to come back and they were going to have a discussion with Craig. Like, they didn't say no. They were like, maybe.
Wow. That'd be amazing.
We're going to talk about it after. And you think about it, and I heard what Victor Hugo was saying, which was similar to, I think, what Rocha was saying, which was, you know, there's something really bad happening in Brazil that if they could dedicate their portion of the ticket sales to a charity like that, that would help people in Rio, that could be huge. So I feel like those are very interesting arguments to see how much they hold in that arena. But I'm telling you, man, I don't know about you, but I wake up every morning looking at my Instagram being like, what did I miss? And then because everybody, like you mentioned, is putting up those fake photos, you start thinking like, wait, did they announce?
You don't know, is this real or not?
To come in here? I don't think so. Did they? Should I have put one up?
Yeah, right. You know, to your point, the one thing I think where CJI could run afoul is with the rules. I really would like to see them, at least just for the first one, do a rule set that's the same or very similar to ADCC, because that's what everyone's been training for. Like, how do we know that Nikki and Nikki Ryan and Nikki Rod and all these guys haven't been secretly training this rule set that Craig is putting out there? Like, I'm not saying that I know that, but I'm saying, how do we know? We know everyone's been training for ADCC. So let's just do that, because I think guys like Andy Varela are like, why would I go do that when I've been focused on ADCC rules for 2 years now? It just doesn't, that's the one part where I'm like, dude, you could totally screw it up with having these crazy rules. Like, just make it what we're used to seeing, man.
So we don't know the rules. I feel like that's kind of wacky, but again, it kind of was going back to the EBI argument, which is they innovated something new at the time that we didn't know that we needed. And at the time, I remember saying this on our show. I don't know what you said on your show, but I remembered when we came back from that first EBI overtime, I was like, it's not perfect, but we got to move this thing somehow. And at the very least, it helps us to move this truck along so that we don't spend more time just hoping for an end. Like, at the very least, you got a timed result, and nobody likes a draw. So at the very end, having that little EBI overtime period, it helped at the time. And now people are like, I hate EBI overtime rules and all that. And I go, well, it's means to an end. It helps push it along. Maybe if this is what they're looking at, they want to put their stamp on it so that they're not just cloning ADCC. And in actuality, what they're doing, in my opinion, is they're giving the audience a chance to say, like, hey, we support this 10-9 thing. We support these 10-8 rules. You know, yeah, we support this pit. Because, dude, Lord knows when we were at PGF, we had people telling us they needed a pit. And all I could think about was, give us the feedback, but like demanding that a pit solves all doesn't necessarily seem the right answer. And I have a feeling that as more and more of these places start to implement a pit, I'm not against that at all. It's just, why do you guys want to keep bitching about a pit if we clearly aren't doing a pit this week? Like, that to me is more of a post-mortem. If you're there, just say like, hey, next season, I'd love to see a pit. And I'd be like, dope. But everybody coming in literally gets that tape and slaps it on being like, needs a pit. That's what you need to fix this. And it's like, I don't know, man, PGF was pretty dope. And maybe they will utilize it. But the last thing I wanted to mention here before we go to this next thing, I thought about this pretty deeply, especially once they got to the coaches and the coaches saying, we'll talk about it as a team. And I'm not saying this is what the case will be for these particular people that we mentioned, but I wanted to know your opinion on this. if you had a coach and he told you not to do the thing for more money, and he said, let's go to ADCC, and you saw somebody win that $1 million that you know you could beat, what goes through your head?
Oh, man. Well, that's a very specific scenario, but what goes through my head is I may have made one of the biggest mistakes of my life up to this point by listening to my coach, and that's coming from a coach. Like, you know, I think that there's coaching and then there's meddling, and at a certain point, a coach has to go like, "Hey, man, this is your life. This is your bread. This is your sustenance. This is your legacy. Like, you got to make this decision. I'm going to help you whichever way you pick, but you got to make it." But the coach making it for the athlete, a situation like that, like,
I would say, I don't know that they're necessarily making the full decision for the athlete, but I do wonder what happens when they give you that thought or they put it in your head and how much resentment comes from that. Because if you look at somebody like the Retolos, they seem like they're perfectly great kids. And they've, you know, when I was on another show this week, they brought up the idea, like, I'd love to see them. And I go, you know, I don't know which way they would go. I would love to see them at the Craig Jones Invitational. I think them going there would be very disruptive to ADCC. Yeah. And they were saying, well, what would you think? And I go, I don't know. And they mentioned, they go, yeah, but the interesting thing about them is the Tackets are in there. And somebody asked them about, what would you do? Like, how would it feel if you guys went up against the Tackets? And they're like, oh, we've already beat them before. And you go, oh, well, if the Tackets won, how would you feel? Like, you didn't take that opportunity when it was thrown at you. And I feel like the Retolos are pretty good guys where they might be like, man, you know, it just wasn't our time. It's all good, bro. Like, man, we definitely want to get a super fight with them. And they take the Fiona approach where she's saying, yeah, how about the winner of that comes up against the winner of me? And, you know, let's make this work. Like, let's create a super fight and let's not get paid.
That'd be cool.
A small amount of money. She's like, let's get a real super fight going where we can make more money because now we both have value. And I thought, what a smart argument. What a great way to present that. And in actuality, what she did was she took out ADCC out of the equation. And in doing so, I thought, man, what a really brilliant and gutsy move there by her. So that was just making me think, like, the best people giving you advice on this, I really hope whoever gets those opportunities, and if they're turning them down, they are satisfied with the decision that they made themselves and that they need to live with whatever that is, because I probably would have doubts. And I wonder if there's negative implications in the future that we hear from coaches or students who in the future say, my coach told me not to do it and I shouldn't have listened to him.
Well, dude, think about this. I think what we're going to see, if this can continue and guys can make big coin, you're going to see a whole infrastructure come out in jiu-jitsu that people are not going to be happy about. Because let's flip it around. What if you're a coach and you pour all your time into this student and then he goes and wins $1 million and then the coach goes, I think I should get 5% of that, dude. Or now you owe the school 10%, or now the team takes a cut, because that's what happens in the rest of sports.
Yeah.
And then the athletes go and get an agent. And now the agents need some money. Now everyone's getting a piece, and it completely changes the dynamic. But that's what happens when big money comes into play.
Yeah.
So the thing is like, is everyone ready for this? Because there's a lot of fantasy guys out there who they fancy themselves as pros, and they're all Instagrammed out. And I'm not talking shit on them, man, because that's awesome. But when the money comes in, it's going to be a serious divide between who's a professional and who's an amateur. And some people are going to be amateurs that think of themselves as pros. And there's going to be some people that are pros because they're getting paid for it and they know how to get paid for it. And that's just the way it's going to be. And it will shake things up a little bit. But I'm kind of stoked for it. Let's go, man. I'm going to try to wet my beak, try to put my open hands in that open stream of money that's coming in and get blessed.
I just know
George Washington, baby. Let's go.
It'll be the first post interview where I'm trying to also rob the person I'm interviewing.
Yeah.
Just be like, hey man, I hate to do this, but like, put your hands in the air, please.
Give me that jumbo check.
Finish asking me your response to your question, and then we got to go to a bank, and you got to transfer me some of your money, sir. I know I'm everyone's
You just have
friendly.
him sign the jumbo check over.
Sorry, I just endorsed it on the back, and I'm like, I'm going to my bank, and they're like, why does it say Ryan Aiken's name? And I'm like, I don't know, man. So that's another thing.
You can just deposit it with your phone.
You know,
picture the jumbo check.
This qualifies here because you and I are on the same page on this one. Okay, you predicted Ryan Aiken, right? And
yeah,
he wins. And did you notice that they were saying to him, they're like, hey, he deserves an ADCC invite. And I was like, well, he also deserves a Craig Jones invite. So
yeah,
in my opinion, that dude should have the ability to choose which way he goes. Now, do you think that it was structurally sound for him to say, I want in an ADCC, when he could have been like, ADCC or Craig Jones, give me a call?
I think it could be sly like a fox. And here's what I mean. By saying I want in at ADCC, he may automatically attract Craig to him and not even have to say. But if he goes, hey, I want in at Craig Jones, then ADCC won't have anything to do with him, most likely. What I thought was even more interesting is Gordon made some overtures that he wants to fight Ryan Aiken now, which is insane.
Oh, I did not know that. Wait,
yeah.
Please fill me in on what that means.
Well, I think what that means, and I don't have firsthand knowledge. I'm just, dude, I got my ear to the streets. I hear lots of things, man. And some of them are totally made up and some of them aren't. I'm pretty sure this one might be one that isn't, but yeah, I think Gordon's feeling left out. That's what I think's happening right now. A lot of things in jiu-jitsu were kind of stagnant without him. And it was like when Hulk Hogan would leave the WWF and everyone's like, oh, dang, Hulkamania's gone. And like it would drag for a while and then shit would start to pick up and then Hulk would come back. And it looked like it was picking up because of him, but it's really because he wanted to get back into the action. I think Gordon's getting a little taste of that right now. And he wants to get back into the action. In one way, it's like, yeah, he's going to be the super fight at ADCC. But in another way, it's like, dude, all the eyeballs are going to be on the other event, which is a tricky thing, But I don't know, man.
Let's talk about this.
I would like to see Ryan Aiken out there.
I don't care where he goes. I'd like to see him involved. What weight is Ryan Aiken? Now that I'm thinking about it, because I know he's made 185, but is he more of like a two-biller?
He's probably a natural 205, probably. The guy's huge. He's humongous. He's like a Street Fighter 2 character.
He really is.
That guy's giant, dude.
I want to point this out
he
because
should be in the next Street Fighter 2.
Yesterday, while browsing through the list of athletes, it was very curious to see Gordon's name missing. And at the very bottom of the ADCC website, they took it off. Oh, it's a good thing.
I saw this. I saw what you wrote, though.
Yeah, it's a good thing we exist in a world with screenshots, because
I know
your boy over here, he makes sure that he does not leave any stone unturned. So Gordon Ryan conspicuously out of his weight division as a listed participant, and he's always liked to do that sort of a thing. So this is me pulling this on live time, and this is what was on the website yesterday. And it says, as you can see here, super fights. Gordon Ryan, current ADCC super fight champion, versus Yuri Samoas, the last absolute class winner. And then beneath it, it says Gordon Ryan versus Felipe Pena. And the way I found this was when I was on the show last week for My Jiu-Jitsu Academia. Love those guys. We were trying to figure out who we'd like to see come over from certain weight divisions. And one of the guys postulated a theory, which was, what if they cleaned out Gordon's division so that his win felt a little less meaningful? And I said, man, that is really some petty stuff, and I wouldn't put it past them to come up with that idea. So as you'll see, Felipe Pena is highlighted there because I said, oh, yeah, let's see if Felipe's in there. Because I said 2 people. I said, from that weight division, pull Victor Hugo and pull Felipe Pena. And I feel like those are good investments. And then this was on the site yesterday. And then all of a sudden I saw other sites start to report it. And they probably were wondering the same thing I was, but I was like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Did I find it first? And if so, this is why I hate jiu-jitsu journalism, because there's no one to fact check with. Like literally, if I find it first, I'm like, well, is somebody here? Do we know what this is? And now it's mysteriously missing. So I wonder if it's meant to get us to see who's paying attention and maybe to start postulating things. Because Gordon did put up a post where he said, hey, expect fireworks on Saturday. And if they had those 2 different super fights, maybe. But I wonder if they make a play for Felipe Pena or if Gordon's waiting to make an announcement, because I also put out the theory, what if Gordon went to go compete at the Craig Jones Invitational just to make a point? And now if he has nothing to do for a division, could happen. I don't know.
Why not? What if Mo just shows up? Just come and watch. That's what Dana would do. He would just show up, sit in the stands and watch. I mean, I think there's a lot of opportunity here for both promotions. If they play it right, you know, there is something to being the personality head or commissioner behind either of these events, which means if it messes up, like it kind of rests on your shoulders, and that's just the way it goes. And if it goes well, it looks good on you too. But if you're really doing your job, it looks good on everybody else that's working for you. But, you know, that's a tricky thing to do, and Mo's trying to figure it out. He's made some cool changes to ADCC in general. Like, we shouldn't forget that. Like, if anyone has followed ADCC over its history, it's significantly better than what it used to be. Like, it's a major, major upgrade. And I have tickets for it. I was stoked. I bought tickets as soon as I could get my hands on them because I wanted to go. In my brain, like, that is the thing. But now, you know, I'm equally intrigued by CJI, and I could be lured over for a lot less than $10,000. Let's just say that.
I would caution this, which is, I think I was thinking of this when he was on his last live, which is, honestly, if Mo had just bowed out in 2022, he probably would have been unscathed. Like, he probably would have walked away pretty okay. But he came back, and what I always find fascinating about this discussion is always like, oh man, you guys don't know what I go through. I give up so much to do this. And I'm like, I think you like this, dude. So we don't have to do this bullshit. Just say you want to do it. You want to head the sport in a good way forward and just own it. Like, it's a weird thing to be teasing, like, hey, maybe I won't do it. It's like, what else? Like, dude, I know you have other shit you could do, but you want to do this. So that doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
But what I did realize, it was like, oh, it is drastically different now to be that figurehead at a time like this. And yes, we've gone through the arguments as to why it is partially his own doing. But at the same point, I was like, yeah, I mean, it would have been a different conversation for him if he had walked away in 2022 for real and not the bullshit version, like for real walked away. So things change. And sometimes your contributions can be minimized or diminished. But I do feel like they have, as an organization, been very sensitive to any kind of critiques or criticism.
Yeah.
And I feel like that has always put a target unnecessarily on them, where most of us just want them to succeed. And now we have this new entity, and I'm like, well, I'm curious to see how they work together. And if they were smart, you could make it a Super Bowl. AFC, NFC, come together, put their best people against each other. And you know what? It's not out of the picture yet, because business can be funny for people. So these people who are in the comment section who are writing hard for one way or another, forget that millionaires or rich people can feud and then become best friends very quickly, whereas your comments will live on forever. So my thing is always, hey, listen, I think we have the best arguments for the best time at the moment. But I've also been pretty clear in saying, like, hey, we'd love to work with the Craig Jones Invitational. We'd love to do the pre and post show because we just want it to look good. And ADCC is not somebody who would want that. And okay, great. It's not like I'm going to root against them, but at the same point, they can succeed just fine and live in their own bubble. And that's exactly what we want, which is do your thing, do it as best you can. Let's see what happens after that. So, all right, let's get to these last two topics so we can kind of mosey on out of here, sir. But the last one was, I think, another one you pitched, because if let's put it this way, if Jake ever pitched this one to me, I would actually be very nervous for him as a person. You pitching it is a little more on brand and just fine, but this is what I love here. It is a fight that happened in the stand. So do you mind kind of telling us what was happening here, sir?
So this is UFC 302. Guys are the dude's yelling and he's saying, slap me. He's telling the guy, slap me, slap me. And the other dude's with the hat on and the black shirt's like, why do you want me to slap you? He's like, I'm a UFC 302. Slap me. This is the modern day Just Bleed guy. That's who this is. And he's pointing down there. It's like, if they can fight, we can fight. Now you need to slap me. Slap me. And now he really, I like his choice of clothing. And he gets slapped so hard, there's like a reverberation and he goes flying back, and then it causes basically a landslide of people. It's a human avalanche. And apparently this guy, once he got wound up, he can't. I'm waiting for the UPS guy to jump in. Look at this guy just like holding up what's that guy holding? Oh, he's holding his phone. Sorry.
He's got his phone.
Everyone's filming it.
He's doing the hero's
Everyone's
work.
filming this.
So
guys.
Let me kind of bring it in here. Now he's reasoning with them. Hey man, let's everybody be cool. I don't know what just got flown there. Was that somebody's hat or something? But it definitely got thrown down from the audience level. So,
what happened to this guy that got slapped? Did he jump on the guy or was he just out? He was gone.
Well, I don't know. I think we have to watch it again. So coming back from here,
slapper dude.
I'll give you my interpretation.
Yeah,
at first, I think the dude who's instigating this is just speaking in heavy metal drummer. Like, he seems to me like it's music that he's hearing in his head, because it's actually very much on rhythm with how you would be drumming and moving your head. So he does this, he gets in his face, and then guess what? Fuck around, find out. Now, that's not even a great hit. Let's really disguise and dismantle what this is. Let's see this arm come up and around. Yeah, like, not the best way to hit somebody, honestly, but it makes him
That's like dudes taking selfies that fall off the side of cliffs. That's basically what he did.
He wound up so heavy that it recoiled him backwards like he shot a gun. So what? Ooh, and then he goes back several rows, which then
and then
takes
who's
the
hitting
fight.
him?
I mean, here's the better.
Some random dude.
At this point, I think he's just anybody who wants a piece can get some. And
everyone's getting it.
I love the fact that they took this fight down several rows. Oh, I want to point this person out. We saw this last week when we were talking about it too. But when people don't know where to grab, they have really good gi instincts, because he's basically holding on to the shirt like, hey, no, come back here, guy. And he's holding on for dear life because Barney shirt over here is trying to make his way into the fray. And I think he's actually helping to break it up. And at this point, we're going to see Homeboy with the tank top. I think he's going to try and reason with him. And he's like, dude, I've always loved you, bro. I've always loved you, man.
I didn't mean slap me for real.
So I would say this. You know, I mean, they call them nosebleeds for a section for a reason. It's because you can't leave without your nose starting to bleed. But I guess the thing that made me so giddy about that particular fight was that I saw it happen on my Instagram and on Twitter a lot. And then I just had this moment of joy, which is, I know how much money those people paid for those seats. And it makes me think they really did think they were signing up for like a fight club. Like they thought, I've paid money, so I'm fighting somebody here tonight. And I don't know who it is, but yikes, it's going down. And I was kind of proud of them because at least they tried to stand on some business that day, Tim. and they failed. They weren't really good at it, but they were really good for our entertainment. And I think that's going to take us to our last topic, which is the gallery. Now, listen, we have some leftovers here, and I'm going to kind of quickly burn through them, but I kind of want to show why we had certain arguments coming in and why, when I was addressing the way I do, it was particularly important. So this was from somebody, I believe, on one of our YouTube pages or whatnot. And they said, my problem is this leeching masked as competitive tactics to improve the sport. The overlap and heavy reliance / dependence on ADCC's established audience is what I don't like. Build it like an EBI, Polaris, PGF World, etc. Respect to those events. They're not parasitic entities. Well, we did just kind of talk about EBI and Submission Underground, had competed against Worlds and all these other different events. So it's not bad to counter program. And I argue if you counter program, you're going to make less opportunities for certain athletes who fall into that overlap. But I would tell you this, why are you so mad that these guys are going to get paid? Like, let them live, let them have their choice. Like, it's more you have the issue with it rather than even the organizations. Because Mo has recently said as much as, hey, listen, I just need time to find the people. And yeah, I get that it's out of spite, but like, we'll be just fine, is what they're saying publicly. Privately, I don't know. This is my favorite one, Tim, because it definitely, I think he had a point and I was ready to hear it. And then I couldn't get any part of coherence on it. So other sports have an audience. You can't have money until you have a paying audience. This also a decision for women's rights or not. So, okay, you had my interest with you can't have money until you have a paying audience. That sounds like some dad shit that you hear where it's like, you can't go out until you make some money, young man. This is, you can't have money until you have a paying audience. Well, they can afford the T-Mobile.
Yeah.
Again, that's the bigger argument.
Yeah.
The second part of this is what really structure crumbled for me. This also a decision for women's rights or not. Tim?
It's the or not.
But wait. Again, I don't assume I'm always right. What the fuck is he trying to say here?
Listen, I'm going to give you a little secret. Anytime you see the ... you're either dealing with a genius or an absolute moron. There's no in between. And in this case, what he's telling you, that ... means, listen, buddy, there's a whole lot.
You lost your
I lost my
here?
power.
Oh, no, it's all right.
Yeah, I lost my power.
I got you. We're going to hear me? Come back in right now.
Okay.
So give it a second. 3, 2,
Okay,
1,
listen.
and...
Hey, so what it means is you're dealing with somebody who either has like a lot of knowledge or they're total morons. And in this case, what this guy's saying is there's a lot of thoughts going on in my head that are never going to get put down in this message right here. They're only going to stay in my head. And that's what these 3 dots represent. You put the rest together, you son of a bitch. You figure it out.
Tim, can I reveal the most hilarious part of this whole message to me?
Yes.
Especially given that last sentence. There's a part right next to 3 hours ago, which reads edited. So this is the edited version of whatever got sent to us. So every time I have a sympathetic ear for somebody who has maybe an altering viewpoint, I have to pause and go, all right, my friend, you did submit this to us. We can laugh at it. I think I have, let me see if it's 1 or 2 more. Oh, 2 more, actually. This one was great. So this was actually from, I believe, one of the Craig Jones interviews. And I think it might have been either on his MMA Hour appearance or his Luke Thomas appearance on Mortal Kombat. And it says, what makes CGI even better is that Gordon Ryan always talks about he's going to be the reason BJJ athletes get paid more. And here comes Craig actually making it happen. Gordon does nothing but fill his own pockets. And I thought, you know, the minute people cash checks from the Craig Jones Invitational, Craig Jones will have made the bigger impact.
Yeah, I think so. And there's also I think there's so much support for Craig Jones because so many people hate Gordon Ryan. Almost everybody that's like super big on this is like, we hate you, Gordon Ryan, which is kind of crazy because how many people either love or hate Gordon Ryan? It's basically everyone in jiu-jitsu. He's a very polarizing figure. I have love for both sides. I've always been able to do gi and no gi. I can go across the aisle, no problem. So,
well, I found that one to be interesting because I know upon hearing it, it would not be received well with Gordon. So I just thought that's going to be very, very funny. All right. This one was actually in response to Alex Wendling, who played a huge role in getting that extra push for women's pay. So shout out to her. But somebody put on her post where she talked about Mo upping the value for women in ADCC. And he said, in response to me saying like, hey, props to Fionn for using her platform to help usher in this change, this dude responded and said she should remove ADCC champ from her resume if she really believes in her cause. Oh, but she won't, because without the title, no one will show up to her seminars. So on that one, this is where I feel that just really ridiculously angry group of people who want to ride one way or another are coming through. You're never going to take away the fact that she's an ADCC champ, but to put it in terms like this, where she's making a stand that already made an impact, it is just a funny way to spend your time on the internet.
Well, and it's like, how can you hate on somebody trying to make more money? Like, how could you, why would that bother you in the first place? Somebody wants to make more money. Who cares? Like, what does it matter what their gender is or what they believe? They're trying to make more money. Let's go. How could you not get behind that? That's the thing that I don't understand. Craig Jones is trying to get all the athletes to make more money. Like, what does it matter if it's a female who's coming in and she's going like, hey, man, historically, the girls have been paid a lot less. That's true. All right, so she wants to make more money. Oh, no, take the title out of your name. It's like, okay, well, take the title off your resume and then go get another job somewhere. You don't do that, right? No, you lie. In fact, you lie. You got a bunch of shit on there you didn't even do, dog. Come on now. You had ChatGPT spit that bitch out. Now you can't get mad at her. She really earned it. You just made it up. Get out of here.
There's nothing funnier to me than, in my head, the voice that I hear when I read this, which is, you take that ADCC championship off your resume, off your seminar posters. You don't even deserve to wear that badge. You get on out of here, Fionn Davies, with your equality. I hate you. Like, amazing. Just amazing. All right, Tim, I think we've run the gamut here today. So why don't we do this? I'm going to put the camera on you. Tell the people where they can catch you and what you've been up to on Inside BJJ, sir.
Hey, so you can catch me at Inside BJJ on every social media platform that exists. And if I'm not there, then just go to Instagram and find me there. Podcast doing great. We just had Jet the Kid Thompson on. You could check that out. He had some pretty interesting stuff to say. Outside of that, Eddie Bravo's coming to Nashville June 15th. Get your ass out here and get in front of Eddie. We'd love to have you, 10th Planet Nashville. If you're out on the West Coast in the 209, go see my people at 10th Planet Stockton. And I want to give a huge shout out to a longtime Inside BJJ listener and one of my personal friends, Winter Stick. It's great to see you in the comments, my man. Even though you're talking mad smack on me right now, I got nothing but love for you, brother.
Oh, wait.
Thanks, Raph.
Oh, no, I just saw this. Oh, that's what he was saying. I want to watch.
These are the kind of fans I have. You have cool fans. They come on, they're like, good point, Raph. Fist bump, good to see you. I have the kind of guys that come on and go, I want to watch Tim compete in the Masters in a diaper. Like, thanks, buddy.
I did like that this happened a little bit earlier. I feel like that's a sweeter note, that the power went off because I'm outside and I'm going to get some kisses. So, it's not all the worst. It's
great to see you again, Ralph.
Oh, of course. Oh, no, that's so funny. It says, hey, I missed my comment review. Wait, hold on. We can bring it back for you, sir. Let me bring it very quickly back to the other screen before we sign on out here.
Is this the ... guy?
This is ... guy.
Oh Jesus, dude! Can you feed your comment to ChatGPT and just say like make sense of this and give it back to us?
Just for old time's sake, my friend. I'll go ahead and put this one back up here for you while we wait to close this on out. But I would say this. Thank you. Nope, that's not you. That's it. Oh, look at that.
Okay. Raph, could you do me a favor and just read the last comment that he wrote?
Of course.
And tell me if that clarifies it.
This also a decision for women's rights or not? Period.
And he writes, the edit was adding the women's rights comment. Oh, that cleared it all up. Dude, you basically made it twice as bad. What are you talking about? Why would you fess up to that? Why? You came on here to fess up.
So hold on. I don't care about chat accuracy. No, we got it, dude. We know that much. We absolutely know that much. No, you can't keep editing. Like, my guy, you have to do us a solid and like have an adult look at this before you put it up.
Bud.
And it says, I like how you read it. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And I'm glad you're a good sport about this. I like humor. Good. Thank God. Oh, God. Do you know how much it sucks whenever we get people here who don't like humor? This shit sucks, man. At least you have a good sense of humor about it. I'm just more baffled by the fact that you did the edit and you were like, actually, I know this is going to make me sound a little bit better. Oh, no, it made it worse. So, hey, if you tune into us, you know what you're getting into. So I have nothing to say. I am an adult. Well, okay, good. Then maybe invest in Grammarly. Grammarly, a program that will read things for you and tell you maybe not the best. And it says chat is only... are you saying Fedor?
Hey, yeah, just guy, close it down, man. What is this about? We got the real druids. The cheap seats are coming in now, dude.
My
this
God.
is the nosebleed.
You know what it says? Not much. You know what? You're right about that. I'll give you that much. I do like the fact that as we're winding this up, that's when we get people. So I'll tell you this, Tim, we've gone long today and we will sign off, but mostly it's because people started showing up as we were threatening to get off. So
yeah,
can't help it, guys. We're like people, we're gluttons for just keeping on this thing for too long. But let me close this up. Tim, I thank you. I appreciate you, good sir. As always, it was good to talk with you and Jake today. And I'll chat with you off air in a second. My guys, thank you so much for tuning in today. It has been a great day for grappling. We've enjoyed you guys. We've enjoyed talking about all the ADCC versus Craig Jones. But a couple quick reminders. You can catch my interviews here on YouTube, or you can catch them on Patreon 30 days before anybody else. So you can catch my recent interview with Adam Bradley, where I asked him his thoughts on a theoretical Craig Jones Invitational, because I did it 30 days ago. And he had some feelings. So I'm very stoked for you guys to see that. We also have some new ones. They basically go up every Tuesday. They premiere here for free in case you don't have the money. And some people don't. So we try to give you guys something, a little bit for everybody. A couple quick reminders. Yes, we have lots of stuff going on within the week, but you guys can catch me. We're also going to do a Running the Gauntlet this week. And we have much, much more. So if you want to support us, go over to patreon.com/grappling hour. And you go there, you can either become a premium user, which is for all of our stuff that is not exclusive anywhere else, or an early access, which is just my interviews for the 30-day embargo that nobody else gets to see before then. So I think that's pretty much all I got for you guys. It has been a great day for grappling. We'll see you back on the mats.